Welcome to our program on Kardec Radio.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Spiritism and the Media here on Kardec Radio. Today I'd like to bring a message from the book Our Daily Bread by the Spirit Emmanuel, channeled by Francisco Cândido Xavier. It is lesson number 143, Do Not Tyrannize. So let's see what Emmanuel has to say. With many similar parables, Jesus spoke the word to them as much as they could understand. Mark chapter 4, verse 33. In the dissemination of the evangelical teachings, every now and then we encounter preachers who are strict and demanding, such as anomalies not seen in the general service. In the personal sphere, it is not common to see severe and fervent friends who desperately demand that the followers be in tune with the religious principle that they embrace. Harsh discussions arise touching of poisonous bitterness. Beautiful affective expression are shaking in their foundation to do improper offenses. So let's stop here in this first page. So let's see what Emmanuel is saying here and how can we connect that to the teachings and the studies that we do here when we are talking about media. So here he starts saying that the dissemination of the evangelical teachings, every now and then we encounter preachers who are strict and demanding. So we may see that, we may be that. We may be those preachers when we think, because maybe in the past, when we thought about preachers, we usually thought of preachers, a preacher in the temple, in the religious temple, but today, now we can see we may have preachers, and we do have many places, not only in public places like physical places, but in public online places. We may say we may have them on TV, on radio, we have them online, on different social media, and also in our daily lives. We may be those preachers to our friends, to our family, even though we are not like a religious person per se, like we are not a religious person in the means of when we think about a priest or when we think about a pastor, but we are preachers in our daily lives when we talk about religion to our friends, when we go and spread the good news. We don't need to have it as a profession, and in Spiritism we do not have that. We can see in the Spirit Center, we have many people that go there and they give lectures, they can lead the study groups. So all of us, we are in a sense preachers. And are we being, as Emmanuel says here? So let's read again when he says, those people who are strict and demanding. And he says, such an anomaly is not seen in the general service. In the personal sphere, it is not uncommon to see severe and fervent friends who desperately demand that the followers be in tune with the religious principles that they embrace. So it's very common, especially when we are very excited about something new. If Spiritism is something new in my life, it brought a big change, so I may be excited and I start preaching and wanting everybody to have the same beliefs that I have, everybody to have the same things that I'm following. So we may become those preachers that Emmanuel is saying here. So let's see in the next page what else he says. He says, however, if the disciple is truly controlled by his determination to be united with the Master, such an attitude can be easily corrected. The Master would only speak to those who listen as much as they could understand. So here's a good point. We see Jesus, for example, if we see in the book Jesus in the Home, is a wonderful book that I recommend to everyone. If you have a chance, please read this book. If you read this book, we can see that Jesus used to speak with the disciples in a different way than when he used to speak to the general public, and because he knew that what he says here, he would only speak to those who listen as much as they could understand. So sometimes when we are preaching, when we are bringing the good news, we may bring the good news, we may bring it in a way that someone is not prepared to listen. So instead of bringing that knowledge, bringing that information in a good way, we may harm the person, especially when we insist the person to understand something that the person may not be able to understand yet, as we are not able to understand so many things. If we go to the Spirits book, we can see that the Spirits, in many questions, they reply Kardec saying that we are not ready to understand some information that the Spirits have to us. So many informations we are not able to have, to bring, and to understand it because we're not ready, we are not in that position. So Jesus and the high elevated spirits, they brought to us what we are able to understand at this moment. And the same must apply when we are being these instruments to God and to Jesus to spread this information that we have, to spread this good news to other people around us. And he says here, to the apostles, he conferred instructions of an elevated symbolic value, while to the multitude he transmitted fundamental truths by way of simple stories. His speech varied according to the spiritual needs of those who gathered around him. He absolutely never violated anyone's personal position. It's very important. He absolutely never violated anyone's personal position. So it's a good question for us to ask ourselves. Am I violating anyone's personal position? And I'm being rude? Many times we may be rude, and many times we may insist on something that the person doesn't want to have at that moment, or is not ready to understand or to receive that moment. So who am I to go and to bring that to that person? If Jesus didn't do that, why am I doing that? So that's good questions that we always need to ask. What would Jesus do? Am I following Jesus' steps? So I need to follow his examples too. And here Emmanuel says, if you are in service to the Lord, consider the indispensable requirements of illumination, as the world is in dire need of Christians workers and not of doctrinary tyrants. So that's important. We need to be Christian workers. We need to follow Jesus' teachings and Jesus' example. That means always bringing love to any kind of talk and conversation that we have with a friend, with a neighbor. So let's always follow Jesus' example. Bring his teachings, but through his example too. So as I usually do here, I'm going to read a message from the book Happy Life by Joana de Angelis, channeled by Divaldo Franco, open randomly, soul number 18. Constant rebelliousness throws the mind, body, and soul out of balance. It is not the flesh that is weak. It is the spirit that is rebellious. Keep your energy in check. Don't let it throw you off balance. Rebelliousness emits a poison that unsettles everyone nearby. A rebellious person inspires neither friendship nor compassion. Keep calm no matter what happens. What is not yet resolved will soon be. Thank you so much for your company. May God bless all of us. See you next week.